Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. It is truly a privilege, actually, to see all of these fine men and women. But it's my privilege today to welcome Dr. Stephen Leatherman to this committee. Since 1997, Dr. Leatherman has served as the chairman and director of the International Hurricane Research Center at Florida International University, which is located in South Florida in Miami. FIU serves thousands of students, Mr. Chairman, in the South Florida area and the South Florida community. It is an exceptional university with exceptional faculty, exceptional talent, and exceptional leadership. The center's main objectives are to mitigate and prevent damage from hurricanes and to assist communities in dealing with the aftermath of those very destructive storms. Unfortunately, in Florida and South Florida, we have way too much experience with those storms. And again, the center was established by the private sector in the aftermath of Hurricane Andrew, which caused some deaths and also billions of dollars in economic loss in 1992. The Board of Trustees of the center includes some of the most well-respected and notable members of our community. Now, on a lighter note, Mr. Chairman, my dear friend Dr. Leatherman is also, he has obviously a lot of expertise in hurricanes, but he also has expertise on storm impacts on coastal areas. But he's also known as Dr. Beach around the world. I'm sure all of you have heard about Dr. Beach. As Dr. Beach, he has selected the annual top 10 beaches, correct, around since 1991. I'm pleased that Florida is home to 3 of the top 10 beaches, including the #1 beach. And I'm sure all of us here on this committee would agree that even though it's a very tough job, we're glad that somebody's willing to do that, to go around and figure out which are the best beaches in town. But anyways, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, sir, for appearing. It's a privilege to introduce a dear friend, somebody who I have not only known and respected, but admired for so many years. Thank you, sir, and we look forward to your testimony, my friend. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be very brief because again, most of the things that I was thinking about also were answered. But I want to thank all of you for being here. Just briefly, when we talk about strengthening structures, what reasonably if you have an idea of what is reasonable to expect that people could expect to be able to strengthen a building, a home, with reasonable costs? Are we looking at a home being able to withstand a Category 3, a Category 4? Is there any way to without building a bunker, be able to withstand a Category 5? Or is so what is reasonable to expect in some time in the future?
I think reasonably we should expect whatever we have in the code, which is 140 mile per hour wind in the Miami, 150 Miami, 130 further up. We should expect homes to withstand that. And that is not just from the problems with the code, is that they have been developed primarily from a life safety standpoint. What we're trying to address here now is building codes need to also address the economic losses, the losses that occur well below 100, 130, 140 miles per hour. We have to address how does the water damage affect things. By using a secondary water barrier installed in your home, you can reduce significantly the amount of water damage that occurs. By developing better test methods for looking at the interface between a window and the wall structure itself, we can also develop better methods for firstly developing those windows which have a water penetration resistance, air resistance, as well as it stops the impact of missiles, 2x4s, and so on. My sense is that currently we should be able to do things for the Category 3 hurricane with no problem. The problems we face, however, is, like me, I've just moved to Florida. I have a 1973 home. I know I don't have a hurricane-resistant home. But, when I'm asked my wife, well, should we buy a stove or should we put in ties? You know who's going to win that argument. and so those are the issues. 90% of our homes are built this way. How do we address that? And that's where the research needs to.
And if I may, and Dr. Leatherman, I don't know, because kind of a or kind of a, I'm thinking like locally now. Homes that were built even after the strengthened code, are they built really to withstand a hurricane, or is it just fortifying some of the you all were saying a little while ago that it's got to be a holistic approach. you can have a strong roof, but still lose the entire, your entire home. Are they built? Were they really strengthened to the point of being really hurricane protected, or is it just that we can kind of feel better that we're not going to lose the roof, but we're going to get flooded? I mean, where are we with the current codes, strengthened codes?
Well, you're absolutely right. The codes have been strengthened in South Florida and now moving throughout the state of Florida, the building code, and hopefully the nation. And they say South Florida has the best building code in the nation, and yet we saw $16 billion in damage from barely Category 2 Wilma. So, yes, we have built them stronger, but we still have a lot of problems the way we put roofs on. It turns out there was defect in the way those ridge tiles are put on the clay tiles. And I can tell you, I had to put a new roof on my house about 5 years ago and got supposedly the best roofer in South Florida, because that's the lawyers told me that who sued roofers. But at any rate, and yet with these categories, with Wilma, I lost some ridge tiles. And I talked to my builder, A&M builder, I says, what in the world's going on here? As I was up there every morning when he was working, and I was there every afternoon when I got off from work, and I did my own inspection, okay? And I said, what's going on? He says, well, the code didn't ask for us in the ridge tiles to have mechanical fasteners. I said, well, I would have paid you if you told me at the time that's what we needed. He said, well, this wasn't in the code. I'm thinking, wow, it's a learning situation for me. And this is before we started the wall of wind, the full-scale testing. If I'd had all that going on, believe me, we'd have put up a 2x4 or some other thing so we could have, screwed down into that member, the ridge line, because once those ridge lines go, kind of opens up the structure. So, yes, we've done better, but gosh, there's some glaring mistakes and omissions, and the code's not what it should be. And again, people thought, well, this is good enough. Now, the other thing you mentioned is, I said before, you can still get water even if the roof stays on. People are going to aluminum roofs, which are actually better. These metal roofs are doing better. But the water can still get underneath and get in your house, and you've got a total loss from an insurance point of view if everything's saturated. You have to strip it out the studs. That's a total loss, even if your roof's perfectly intact. So we've got to address these issues, and I think we have the capability now to do them.
We've got a long way to go, it seems. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.